All right there, everyone. Great to be back with you. We have our wonderful guest back with us today, Colin Plume. Colin's the president of Noble Gold. And if you've been with our channel for some time now, Colin and Noble Gold are no strangers to you. Colin has been creating and looking after wealth for his clients and advising them on strategy and the management of their assets for many years. And I know a lot of you are responding to these unprecedented times by giving gold and precious metals a second look, especially when it comes to your portfolios and retirement. So Colin's here to bring some clarity in the midst of so much confusion, especially in terms of what to look forward to in the year ahead. So Colin, welcome back to the channel.
Thank you so much. Yeah, it's amazing to think we're at the end of a very long, hard year for so many people. I think everybody's had their own struggles from kids to life to just business work. I mean, it's been a difficult year for everybody. So I think a lot of people are gonna kiss this year goodbye now that we're at the end here.
That's right. Good riddance, as it were. Yeah. That's for sure. So speaking of, obviously we've got a new round of lockdowns coming in. We're seeing across the country. There was a survey I ran across that found that nearly half of small business owners, 48% believe they may end up being shut down permanently. So what are you seeing here in terms of the beginning of the new year in light of the lockdowns and so much uncertainty among small business owners?
Yeah, I mean, it's the hard part is this is the time of the year that you would want to support small business owners in whatever fashion you can, by buying goods, to going to restaurants, to maybe doing a last minute trip somewhere. But a lot of those things are sort of out of reach at this point. I don't think that it will deter people from starting their own business. I think more people will continue to go in that direction because I think at the end of the day, with all the layoffs and everything that are happening, a lot of people are realizing that it's probably better to take your career and life into your own hands. So I think we're going to continue to see people, start to open up their own businesses, but a lot of the businesses that are your staples that people would get into are really struggling because taxes have not stopped, rent has not stopped in a lot of places. There's a local business owner that I'm friends with here that has a restaurant, and all the state taxes are still coming. The rent still, the landlord still, but he can't do any business. He does a tiny bit of takeout, but the majority of his business got a big, beautiful patio that people sit outside, and that's where he makes the majority of his money. So he can't afford any of these things, yet the taxes are still coming, and it's just not a fair situation for that business owner. So I think that what the government's going to continue to do is they're going to have to continue to do more stimulus. They're going to continue to just throw money at the problem. Government generosity has been the theme for this year. And I think it's going to continue. And I don't think it'll end even after the first quarter, even if, let's say a lot of people get vaccinated. I think that will continue. And then how long does it take for us as a country to recoup that money? Because the reason that it makes sense to do the generosity is hopefully businesses start coming back, they start paying taxes, and they can start to pay off all of that stimulus money. But that's going to take years and years for that to recover. So, what a lot of people have been talking about is how do you dem-proof your retirement? And it's kind of a funny phrase, but I think it's sort of what people are thinking about right now, is because we know with what's happening, if it goes in this direction with Biden, they're not going to slow down the debt. It's just going to be more government debt. Likelihood of taxes going up is extremely high. I saw a poll said that 90% of people think taxes are going to go up, maybe not next year, but the year after. So, I mean, it's just going to continue to get more difficult in terms of getting ahead. And so how do you protect yourself? And I think that's why people are really looking at gold and silver as a safety play. And, even though risk is high right now, people are looking at risk and say, oh, I want to get back in the markets. And I see the stock, I see Tesla and all of these things. The smart money is not going in that direction by any means. The smart money is taking risk off the table and they're looking for protection plays. They're being very conservative
Right.
with their investments.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about the role of central banks here in your forecasting. I read actually an article on Noble Gold's website, and by the way, for our viewers, the website is a great resource. It's got a lot of informative articles, and one of your more recent articles had the quote, "There's a money printing party going on, and the entire world is invited." So give us a sense of the role central banks are playing in your forecast of what it would expect.
So, the Fed said they're not going to raise interest rates. They said in September of this year, they're not going to raise interest rates for 3 years, which was sort of unprecedented. We kind of talked about this because usually central banks, they don't go that far in advance, right? They'll typically every quarter review and see where we're at. But they're saying for the next 3 years, we're not raising interest rates. That means, cheap money out there for everybody. And they're just hoping that they can kind of stimulate with these very low rates. And unfortunately, the problem is that it deters people from making any kind of money in traditional like savings, right? I mean,
right.
those areas, if you went back, I mean, I remember in the 80s, you could get a CD for 13, 14%.
Wow.
Because that's where that's where inflation was, right? That's where they said the inflationary numbers are. Now they keep inflation below 2%. You can look at the charts for the last 15, 20 years. They always say 2 to 3%. The last 10 years, nothing more than 2%. So they keep the numbers low. They take out energy costs and a lot of day-to-day things that we pay for. And that allows them to just keep keeping interest rates super low so they can just continue to just create all this tremendous debt that we have out there.
Wow. Yeah. And also the article pointed out a clear calculus that everyone's got to make sure they understand. And that's the more money that's being printed, the more money loses its value, right? But that's not true of gold and precious metals. Is that correct?
Well, if you think about it, everything has to go up in value, right? So that's the idea. Anything that has a limited supply that is in use should continue to go up in value. Silver, great example. I mean, everybody was shocked by the growth of silver for this year, sitting at $23 now. But silver is still less, it hit $50 an ounce in 2011. We're sitting at 23. It's still got a lot of room to roam. If you look at gold is still traditionally, if you compare it to other assets, still very low compared to where it should be, just based on the demand that's out there. I mean, this year was the largest buying of central banks that we've seen in 10 years. They all jumped into the market. They were all buying in August, September, that's when gold was breaking $2,000 an ounce and the central banks were buying it. Now we're sitting in the low 1800s. So if the central banks are buying gold at 2000 at 1800, you have to think it's a very good value buy for that. And, if Bank of America's prediction comes true and it does hit $3,000 an ounce, which they predicted earlier this year,
that's right, yeah,
that would be a tremendous gain from where it is today.
Wow.
So I think there's still a lot of room to be had. And I think the industrial uses continue to grow with gold and silver. I mean, silver right now, if you believe that more people are going to be working from home in the next 10 years, you will be foolish not to have some silver in your portfolio, because everything that we are using, our communication right now, everything has a silver component to it on every level. All the components, all the data, all the computers, you name it, it's all going there. So Tesla, makes an electric vehicle that uses silver in the batteries for Tesla. I mean, everything that's trending is going towards silver. So I really think silver is going to explode in the next 12 to 18 months. I wouldn't be surprised if it breaks $40 an ounce, which would be a nice gain from today. So the only downside with silver is if you store it at home is where do you put it all?
That's right.
It's if you start building a lot of wealth in silver, you got to have a nice big safe for it because it obviously that weight can really kind of pick up over time.
Right. It's so interesting too that we're moving from cement to silver. That scholars would argue we're moving away from the what they called mass society, the big, massive conglomerate cities and so on. To things are being spread out more and more now with what they call a network society, where we're linked together not so much by our spatial proximity, but by networks, by the internet, and like you said, by silver in effect.
And then I think that's why people are moving to all over the country now. They're finding opportunities. New York's having this massive exodus of people, and they're moving to Florida and Texas and everywhere else because their employers realize, like, it doesn't matter, they can be anywhere. But to have them work remotely, a lot of those people are working in finance. They need to have secure technology, and that technology has that silver component in it. So I think people are going to be working from home more. Those are the industries that are going to continue to explode. And I think you have to look at where the trends are for the next few years. But I think next year is going to be, it's going to be a busy year in terms of news and excitement, because as people start to go out more again, a lot of new things are going to happen. The world is changing. And so I think next year is going to be a fascinating year for us as a world, because we've never gone through anything like this in our lifetimes. And now the world is, in the next 6 months, the world's going to be free to roam again. And so it'll be interesting to see how people react to that newfound freedom. And all the introverts out there are dreading this, but they're probably going to have to start coming out of their house in the next 6 months.
That's right. And I'm one of them, believe it or not. I like being inside. I like being shut up in my bunker, as it were, You
got a nice setup there.
I got a nice setup. I just sit around and write books all day.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You're going to be forced to get out of there and do some stuff.
That's right.
So.
That's right. Well, on a similar vein with that, with the network society, like, I found another article, if you don't mind commenting on your website, it was very good, on blockchain, and how blockchain is a 21st century answer to your financial problems. And so if people don't know what blockchain is, the most obvious element of a blockchain internet architecture right now is Bitcoin. So give us a sense of how Bitcoin can provide some solutions to financial issues here.
Yeah, blockchain, that technology, once they've finally perfected it with Bitcoin, they are able to keep data in a way that we've never been able to keep data before. For instance, I mean, the thing that my first thought is just, I always think of the headache of going to a new doctor, and the new doctor asks you all the list of questions of, when you were 6 years old, did you break your leg? And what happened? Has your pendants been removed? And, what medicines? Blockchain, the technology, and we're not there yet just because we haven't accepted it, but the new doctor could have everything that's ever happened to you in terms of your health at their fingertips without even asking any questions, which, now that a lot of people are doing telemedicine,
right,
doctors are they've had to conform and, go to this, which, by the way, I mean, it's ridiculous that it took a pandemic to allow us to do telemedicine.
Yeah.
The idea of taking a sick child into a waiting room with other sick children so that everybody can get more sick is the most idiotic thing that I've ever heard of. I mean, this has really forced us to do some smart things. But the idea with the blockchain is that your information, your health information, can be at the fingertips of a doctor in the emergency room anywhere. And there's billions and billions of dollars that is wasted with moving files, moving data, wrong information, wrong medicine. This could all be completed because within this loop of the blockchain, they could create a loop where your private information could be kept private, and you could call that doctor, and they know exactly who you are, everything that's ever happened to you in your life in terms of your medicine, and they could come up with a better solution than having to wait 40 minutes, fill out that application, get in front of that person. God forbid you forget something. What if you forgot about a medicine that you were allergic to? Right. All that would be there. And it's not like it's not happening in the world. My father is a veteran. When he goes to the VA, he's been going to the VA since he was 18 years old. He's 76 years old. When he got his, not to give up too much private, but he had a surgery. and he had a surgery, the same kind of surgery when he was 18 years old, and they had the data in that loop. So the doctor knew that he had that surgery, 50 years before. So it's not like this isn't available. It's just on a broad scale with 330 million people, they didn't have that. So blockchain gives us the ability to do that. The other things that the exciting things about blockchain is just how we can sort of simplify our life with all, I'm a big believer in time, and, I don't want to waste any time. So like the DMV or where you go to get your driver's license, all that could be wiped away, having to go there, because they could keep all that data in the blockchain. They don't need you to go in and wait in that silly line for 4 hours. All of that can be simplified. So you have all of those incredible, technology that can be simplified through the blockchain. And then let's just talk about money. The great part about this is that there's so many countries in the world that they're not comfortable with their currency. Their currency is manipulated by a dictator. Blockchain or Bitcoin, if one of these countries adopted it as their currency, it would create a system that cannot be manipulated by a dictator or a government in that way. So, and that's, one of my big beliefs is I do believe a country will eventually adopt Bitcoin as their currency. And I think that'll kind of shock the world, but I think it's going to happen. So the list goes on and on. The technology behind it is not only fascinating, but it really could change and better our lives.
Yeah, I loved, I don't know if you've ever read George Gilder's, I think it's called Life After Google, which is a real fascinating sort of, George Gilder was the fellow who back in, early 80s said, one day these big hulky computers that we're all, desktop computers we're all playing with anew. He said, one day you're going to be able to fit it on your watch. You're going to be, these things are going to be reduced. And he's already saying, it's inevitable. Blockchain is going to take over, and it's just whether or not you're ahead of the curve on this one. So.
It's creates a lot of perfect solutions, because it creates a lot of independence in technology, which is nice, and I think that's why a lot of people like it. The one downside, though, and not to be a naysayer, is that the mathematical problems that need to be figured out to move the chain along, over 90% of that mining is done in China. So as much as there's an independence to the whole system, it is dominated by, China does dominate that part of the technology, which obviously, with all the things of security and things like that, does create a situation where it makes it seem a little bit unsecure that we have one country sort of dominating it. And it's really because they have the availability of people that can do it there, and the electricity is a lot cheaper there. So that's why they've been able to dominate that sort of industry. But it's I think that will change, and how those complications will be figured out. We'll probably move to other places in the world, and hopefully that'll level the playing field.
Yeah, there you go. It'll be able to resolve itself, as it were. Give us a sense of what Noble Gold has for offerings for December. We got Christmas coming up and the New Year. So
So we, anyone that's still thinking about moving their IRA or 401k into precious metals, it's something that or if they want to put Bitcoin in their IRA, it's something we do also. You can do half Bitcoin, half gold if that's something that you wanted to do. So anyone that's looking to diversify, get into something that is a little bit different than what they're into, we do all the paperwork. We have an IRA team that literally will be, and listen, with the holidays, we'll be working. I've worked different crews. We'll be pulling back. I'm going to try to give some people some time off, because it's been a very busy year with the run up of gold. People have been working incredible hours, but we will be available. So anyone that wants to do it, and the promotion is the 1/10 ounce gold American Eagle proof, which that is
right here.
It is an IRA approved coin. It has a certificate of authenticity. It's never been touched by human hands. It comes in that beautiful velvet case, and you will get that delivered to your doorstep for free if you start an IRA with us this month. Even if you start the paperwork this month and it takes a little longer, you'll receive that delivered directly to your doorstep.
Beautiful.
in a nondescript package. We'll call you with the tracking number, so nobody will know what you're receiving. It'll be it could be anything from, you know, one of the FedEx or UPS could be delivered, but when you get it, it's, you know, you're getting a $300 coin for free, which is always.
Oh, it's wonderful. And it's great, like for children as well, because like you mentioned, you know, a child can lose a 1/10 ounce coin, but it's hard to lose the case that it's in.
Yeah.
So that kind of gives it a little extra security.
Yeah. Great gifts. I have it all for my kids. I have some set aside. A lot of people give them as gifts. And, you know, you think if your kids are 2 to 6 years old, you know, that you give them that gift, you know, by the time they're ready to go to college or,
yeah,
you know, that could pay for a lot, you know, gold.
That's for sure.
16 to 18 years, probably sitting at, you know, $6,000-7,000 an ounce.
Wow.
So, you know, they'd be sitting with a nice little helping, and I'm sure they'll remember that coin a lot more if they decide to travel or do something than some toy that they've, you know, destroyed and forgotten about. So
that's for sure. That's right. Beautiful. Love it. We'll have a link below under the video for people to click and get more information about Colin and Noble Gold and what they can do there. So Colin, thank you so much for being with us, you know, during these uncertain times. You always bring clarity, and we very much appreciate it. And thank you so much for the support of our channel. I know a lot of our viewers love you guys and take advantage of Noble Gold. You're terrific. So Merry Christmas to all of you over at Noble Gold, and a happy and safe new year.
Absolutely. Thanks, Dr. Turley. Appreciate it.
You bet.